Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. And this is a really special day because I'm here with political royalty, and I'm talking about Madam Mayor Marty Blum. And Marty, this is going to be so much fun because you have a special place in my heart. When I started at the News Press, I was doing a couple of other beats, and then they moved me to Santa Barbara City Hall. And that was right around the time when you got elected to your first term as mayor. And there's so many stories that I covered, about you, about the politics of City Hall. And you've always been a straight shooter and a tremendous source, even if the stories were not necessarily favorable to you or City Hall. You always really valued the journalism, and I always respect that. And you are somebody who's done it all in this town. I mean, you've been
good. Then I'm done. Yeah.
You're the former mayor 2 terms, city council member 2 terms, former Santa Barbara City College Board of Trustees. I believe you're on the Planning Commission as well. Am I making that up? Okay. So you definitely put in your time.
The Teachers Association.
Yeah, you're a former teacher, president of the Santa Barbara Teachers Association. So there's so much we can talk about. But first of all, I just want to ask you, Marty, how are you doing? It's been a long time since we talked.
I'm doing great. I'm leading the good life in Santa Barbara. It's it's an amazing place, and I am enjoying it a lot.
Yes. Well, I think we could use some of your wisdom at City Hall. I want to dive right in and just sort of ask you a couple of questions. But you've been in the mayor's seat, you've been a city council member, and you've dealt with these issues that Santa Barbara is dealing with now: homelessness, affordable housing, State Street, all these things that are really long time perennial issues, and we chip away at them, but they're always to some degree going to be an issue. What's your take of Santa Barbara? We have a new mayor, Randy Rouse. He was on the council, he left, he came back.
Man, too.
What's that?
It's a man.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
We broke
40 years.
The streak has been broken.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you think about Santa Barbara and sort of how it's doing, what's your take? Is Santa Barbara in a good place? Are we going the wrong direction? What do you think?
I think we're in a good place in general. I think in general, this is a city that the people in it are very loyal to Santa Barbara, and they want to help make it better. And they're always working on various things. And it's that energy I really like. And I think it's still there. So I give it an A. I think we're doing fine, except, there's some things that just have not, we haven't found the right thing, right solution. Homelessness is one, or moderate to low income housing, prices of housing. And State Street is a funny one to me, because right before I was on the city council in '96, it became it had just become a 2-lane street. It was 4 lanes with parking on it, which is totally bizarre. But that's what it was from the start. And we brought in, the city brought in Davies to help, make State Street a walkable, good place. Oh. And we didn't get the cars off of State Street. So that was kind of funny. And that was probably in the, I don't know whether it was 80s or early 90s, maybe. Yeah. And I absolutely love State Street, 2 lanes. That was just so good.
Right.
And then when I got to be mayor, I actually said this at a meeting, and I don't know whatever happened because nothing happened. But I said, let's try to just make State Street a pedestrian walkway. Oh. We could do it just one Sunday afternoon or one Saturday a month, and I think it might be successful. And then we might decide we don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. I never could get any traction on that. I think I started on that one from when I was on the council and then as mayor. And so I think Randy's going to find out it's not just good that you say something. You need to get 3 more votes.
Right.
And I don't know how easy that is. But anyway, that never happened, and we just kept going on like nothing was happening, and it wasn't. And then the pandemic came, and wham, bam, we saw all these restaurants move out into the street, and the ballards went up, and no driving on State Street. And I was really surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming. Not too many people saw the pandemic coming, but I didn't see, as a result of the pandemic, we would have a pedestrian walkway on State Street. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I kind of like it. So
Yeah.
it's not so bad.
Right.
And I talked to Dave Davis. I think he is working right now on, I hope he's working on getting some plywood off of things. You know, it's kind of tacky in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But some of it's very wonderful. It's very beautiful too. So, you know, sometimes the solution just whams in there, you know, and sometimes it just takes years and years and years and years. So, and, you know, I think in general, we're a good town, we're a good city to live in, for sure, to raise children in. It's just, you know, I had 3 kids here and we had a great time. And so that I don't think is going to go away. I hope.
Yeah. The pandemic allowed everyone to sort of just do it really quickly, almost overnight. Can you imagine if there was a effort to close State Street to cars? That would have taken years, and here it just happens really quickly. And so we're seeing in real time it play out. And the main thing, though, is there's a lot of people downtown. There's a lot of vibrancy. There's a lot of people who are eating, who enjoy walking, riding their bikes, you know, creates other issues, but there's a lot of vibrancy. So I think that's the good to focus on. And then you got to figure out how to make it all work so everyone get along and it looks decent. And
the bad part is there's, you know, this McDonald's is leaving.
Yeah.
And other inexpensive places are leaving, because I imagine rents are going up. I don't really know that. Yeah. But I imagine that's happening as it becomes a more popular place. So
Rite Aid is leaving, and there's
that's the other one.
Some people say, you know, the real problem with State Street is that some of the property owners don't live here, and they're just not going to compromise on the amount of lease rent they're going to charge, whereas maybe some other property owners do and work with their tenants. But if this is just another property in their portfolio, they'll wait, and then we just have these vacant areas. You were always a big
terrible. That's a terrible thing and also a house. That shouldn't be, well, I'm going to say this anyway. I have to be that straight shooter, right? A house near me, and I just live in a little, in a tract home, really. It had no insulation. It was just, you know, and now it has some, but you know what I mean? It was just like, I raised 3 children in a 3-bedroom house on the Mesa. And now right behind me, the house went for $3.9 million. That is absolutely bizarre.
Wow.
And it's sitting vacant.
Is it?
It has been vacant for about 6 months now. And I think I don't know what that is. I could never, that's way out of my price range. But also, that's a crazy thing. I think they're waiting for it to go up to 4 million or something. I don't know what they're waiting for.
Yeah. They're going to flip it, or they're going to only be here for a few months out of the year.
I haven't seen them yet. I want to talk to them. I want to just give them a little history of Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Well, that leads into the next thing, which is the affordable housing crisis. Yeah. That's a home right there that could be occupied by local people, family who need a place, and it's sitting there empty. How's Santa Barbara doing with affordable housing? The AUD program was not in existence when you were mayor. We've got more apartments. We've built much more apartments.
Which is good. That's great.
The rents are market, though, for most of them. There is an inclusionary element that is happening now, but how are we doing on affordable housing? Do you have any advice for those in office now?
When the pandemic started, that $3.9 million house was about $800,000.
Wow.
So that's 2 years, right? And it just went way up there. And so I don't think that's very good at all. In fact, it's one of the worst things that's happened. But the state has helped us out somewhat, because it's is mandating that we allow ADUs. That's not AUDs, but the ADUs as the accessory dwelling units, which are granny flats or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at first I was appalled that the state would tell you you could put another house on your lot. But I'm not appalled at all anymore. Now that I'm a grandmother, I'm not appalled. We are actually building an ADU in our son's backyard in Portland. And, you know, that's probably where I'll go stay once in a while for a month or two.
Yeah.
But also, it may be the place that I end up living.
Yeah.
And I just think Santa Barbara is seeing more and more of those. And I think it's, in general, a good idea.
Yes.
You know? So that'll help somewhat in lower income, because they're what, 500 to 800 square feet? That's very small.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a family of 6 in there. But,
Exactly. And it's within the infrastructure that exists already. You don't have to
right.
find new land to do it. There's some parking issues, I guess, that come up, but
right.
That seems to be a successful resolution, compromise that we're seeing.
And we also have, maybe people want to have an Airbnb back there, and that's going to be a problem. Because I've also said that we can't have Airbnbs in residential areas, I think. I haven't really followed that.
Yeah, we're not supposed to. They are allowed in areas that are zoned for hotels.
Yeah,
but they're not supposed to be in the residential. But it's not even a Santa Barbara's biggest secret. It's not even that, because everyone knows it. Like, there are vacation rentals that are happening all over town, and the city can't keep up with the enforcement. And people see it, and it is what it is. And people are like, why can't I do this? Why can't I make as much money as I can? And not realizing that there's a family somewhere that can't afford what you want them, because one, it's not a rental now, it's an Airbnb, but it would be better to have them off the street or living in their car and in the house, so that's an impact. What do you think of Randy? It was a really tough time for Cathy Murillo the last couple of years there. Obviously,
I think 4 years. She just had, her first day in office was January 8th or 9th. And that night is when that big debris flow happened in Montecito. Yeah. And Santa Barbara police, fire, all kinds of rescue people were very involved in that, getting that fixed up. And so there she was, you get sworn in, you have a happy dinner, and you go to bed, and then whammo, it hits. And it really did hit her hard, I think. And I had met with her before that to say, I think it's a great job. I mean, who would want to be the mayor of Santa Barbara? And then I feel like an idiot, but it still is a great job. I like it. It was a good job, but she really that was a good 6 months of difficulty in some ways, and maybe even more. And then she wrote a little note to me. It was kind of funny. At the beginning of year 2, she said, I think I'm going to like this job, but I'm not sure yet. And I'm going, yeah, I know. Let's just settle down. And then whammo, the pandemic in the last couple of years. Oh, and who would have thought, in January 2020, you would have thought, we're going along okay, nothing happening. And by March, everybody has to stay home, and the fear of God is in you not to go to the grocery store or whatever it was, everything. People are learning how to wear masks. So, and businesses wwere folding. They were folding on State Street, and they were closing temporarily. And what a difference that made. It made it just a ghost area. Yeah. And she had to deal with that part too, dealing with the downtown organization. And those 4 years were probably the toughest in the city of Santa Barbara when you look at it.
Right. So in some ways, do you think it wasn't fair for her? Do you think that because all these things were going on, voters had to figure out someone to blame to some degree, and she's the mayor, so she's in.
Oh yeah, why not? No, yeah. I mean, the voters here are pretty smart. At first, you think, "Oh my God, they're going to do whatever it is," and then they come through most of the time. With Cathy, it was, you had to point your finger somewhere. Mm-hmm. This, I've been staying home now for 6 months, and and I want the mayor to open it back up, please. Not even please. So, yeah, I think it was hard, but I'm not trying to make excuses for her. She just had a hard time, and I don't know all of the details because I really wasn't not there.
Politics are difficult,
Yeah.
and you can make enemies really easily. Let's talk about Paul Casey. You know, we talk about the mayor, but Paul retired early. I mean, he can say whatever. I know he was not planning to retire at that time, but Paul's another casualty to some degree of the turmoil, the opposition to City Hall, and there was a petition, and I've always liked Paul. I always thought he was really, really smart, and other people blamed him for the slow development approval process and all the problems in the city. And I think he just said, you know what, I don't need this. I've been working on it.
Yeah. No, I agree that that's what happened. And I feel bad about that because Paul was a good guy. He is still a good guy. And now he's leading a happier life, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was just really, we were tough on him too.
Right.
In a lot of ways, and that was too bad. I think I had Jim Armstrong for my whole 8 years as mayor, and he was really good, except that his last name was the same as the editorial writer in the news press, but otherwise he was perfect. You know? Really, really a nice man, and he still is. But I think Paul, I don't know what happened, except that things were not easy in Santa Barbara suddenly, and that makes you want to point your finger.
Yeah. So let's talk about you, Marty. You were always really good at navigating that space. One of the things that I've said on my show, on Jerry's show about Cathy, is that she seemed to, in my, reporter perspective, kind of just play to her audience, which was the Democratic Party and Labor, people who agreed with her on her issues. And she was really good on those issues. But she was not necessarily anyone who crossed over and was able to build bridges with other people in the community. I don't think she did a very good job of that, even if it wasn't her fault. It didn't happen. You, on the other hand, you had this remarkable way of kind of pleasing your base, but at the same time, you'd occasionally speak your mind and just say something how it wasn't meant to be said. And you were less political in that aspect. You were very much your own brand. You were Marty Blum, and people said, that's Marty, but we still love her, right?
Oh, yikes. I don't remember those. I guess I didn't need to, huh?
You were less like, let me figure this out in the back room before I say it. A lot of times you would just do it and let the chips fall where they may, whether it's, labor negotiations, police fire. Remember those days, right? Those
God. Yes, I do. Oh, geez.
The leaks at City Hall and who knows what and how to, blah, blah. How were you able to sort of navigate all of that turmoil? Police, fire, opposition. You were dealing with kind of a conservative wave, the Dale Francisco sort of group, the Michael Self, the Frank Hotchkiss, people who were sort of starting to say, oh, we don't like bulb outs. We don't like this Rob Dayton. They're ruining our neighborhoods. And you were always able to sort of work that space and come out looking good. How were you able to navigate all that?
Wow, I don't remember. I really don't. I'll say it's my age, but I really don't remember having that much of a problem. I think what happened was when I became mayor, I decided that I was going to be mayor for everybody, which is what they tell you in political school, if there is such a thing. But, they just, you run for office and then you become the mayor, you have to be mayor for everyone. And I think for a second, go back to Cathy, that's one thing she didn't do.
Yeah.
And you said it in a different way, but she was mayor of the West Side and her group, whoever they were, whoever voted for her, all the people that voted for her. Yeah. But I think the one thing is to keep your enemies closer, right? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Yeah. And I really found that that's what I needed to do. That was my mantra, I know.
Yeah.
And I went to so many dinners that Cathy didn't have the opportunity to go to, frankly.
Right.
But, so many dinners of people who I would never have had dinner with, if I wasn't the mayor.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that in some ways. So that was okay. But anyway, it was, I also think that people, and I think this of Congress right now, that if people just sat down and tried to make a list of all the things they believe are true, that their lists would overlap with everybody else's lists. If they would just sit down and do that. They're not about to do that in Congress right now, but I think the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world do agree with Adam Schiff in some things.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the list is very short for those two, but there is a list that you can start working from. And so that's what I did here. Is I went to the Republicans. I don't know what it was. I've forgotten the name of it, but the Republican committee, like their political committee,
Central committee,
Central
yeah.
committee, but they didn't. I don't know. But they had a dinner,
Yeah.
and I can remember sitting there thinking, "What am I doing here?" I mean, really. But I think they toned it down a little bit after that.
Yeah.
I know they did, and that was good for the city. It was good for everybody. So anyway, it's that's what I remember. I don't remember deliciously saying crazy things that Josh would quote. I didn't do that.
No, that never happened.
I didn't do that for you. I'm sorry. But I also have a hard time planning on saying only certain words and then having to stick to it the rest of my life or something. It just didn't make sense.
It's much harder to lie, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to tell the truth because you don't have to think about it when you repeat your stories later.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things that is so impressive about you is your resiliency, your toughness. And an example is when I was covering you, you had a double mastectomy, right? And you were back at City Hall in a week.
Yes.
You remember that? And everyone was sort of thinking, there, you had your enemies at City Hall, maybe enemy. And there were those who were looking forward to you not being around and maybe kind of stepping up and taking the leadership role there. And then all of a sudden, Marty's back after this very serious surgery and just something that just affects your entire life. And you came back. Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of how that impacted you and how you were able to bounce back so quickly?
Yeah, I found out I had cancer, and I can't remember when it was that I found out. A couple months before I had my double mastectomy, and it was just if I had not been in office, it would have been a lot harder to deal with. I didn't have time to deal with it really. When I found out I had cancer, I went in and talked to Jim Armstrong, our city administrator at the time, and I said, I don't know if I should just, take a little leave of absence for a couple months or something and take care of this thing and not tell anybody, or should I make it public? And I really was debating those two things. He said, oh, Marty, if you don't tell them what's wrong with you, they're going to make up something. And it'll probably be brain cancer or some kind of weird thing that you...
He was talking about Nick Welsh, not me making something.
Or that I'm having a mental breakdown or, all those things people make up in their minds. And so I thought, yeah, that's crazy. So I'm just I'll put out a press release that says Marty Blum has cancer. And that's what I did with, I had an assistant at the time, Nels Henderson. He wrote a press release for me. And I remember calling the Breast Cancer Resource Center to say, hi, I'm Marty Blum, and I'm the mayor, and I have cancer. It's so stupid. I have breast cancer. And I didn't say, can you help me? I said, can you help with just telling me some details, like how many people have breast cancer in Santa Barbara and all that sort of thing. I was all of a sudden out of my body and into a brain thing.
Yeah.
But we wrote that. We sent that release to everybody, and then I went into the mode of I think I can have this done. I'll come to council on a Tuesday. I'll have my surgery on Wednesday, and I'll come back the next Tuesday. Well, unfortunately, because that's what I was, sometimes you're really crazy and you don't even know it. At least that's what I do sometimes. And I step back and go, whoa.
We don't know we're crazy in the moment.
I know.
It's when we look back and we're like, whoa, what was I thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, for me, that was that one. And on Tuesday morning, was it? I think I went to see the doctor to set up this Wednesday thing, and he said, well, you can't go this afternoon. I have this and this and this lined up for you. And I said, oh no, I have a city council meeting, I can't do that. He's yes you can. This is not a so I ended up missing that council meeting, and that was just horrible for me. I had a little meeting of the city council ahead of time to say that I will not be here this afternoon because I'm having breast cancer surgery. Good excuse. And I remember, but I said, I'll probably be back next week. And as I was walking out of that office, and behind me there were 3 or 4 council members, I remember one speaking up, and you're going to get out of me who spoke up. But I remember her saying, breast cancer, she's going to be out for months. I'm taking over. Emphasis on I can still hear it in my ears. Yeah. And I got down to the first landing in the stairs, and I said to myself, no, she isn't. That's silly. What a crazy thing. And it just made me really determined. Yeah. And then the people of Santa Barbara really helped me out too, because I had over 400 notes and flower arrangements, and I thought I had died. I went in the mayor's office after my surgery, and I looked on Friday. I had surgery on Wednesday. On Friday, I came in just to say hello, I'm still here. Yeah. And honest to God, it looked like I had died, because it was filled with flowers, and they said they already they had taken a lot of it away. So, the people of Santa Barbara are wonderful, and the personal notes that I got. Yeah. From women who had had surgery and they were now in their 90s. I mean, that gave me a lot of hope. Yeah. And the kind of surgery they had was much worse, than the kind of surgery I had. So I thought, this is nothing. Yeah. And so the next Wednesday I conducted the meeting. Why not? I was hurting a little bit. I have to admit it. I'll admit it. I wasn't perfect, but
well, sometimes
it was a thing. I wanted to be a good role model too. I was aware of that.
Yes, that people would be watching you and see how they can handle, and people who are in less public roles are dealing with that issue as well, and they'll take inspiration from how you're able to do it.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. But I had so many bandages, and I had a drain. Oh my God, it was amazing. But nobody knew that. Now you do, and maybe whoever watches this does. But that's it, And I guess that's where my grit comes from.
Okay. Yeah.
To say, no, you're not. I am there, and you're not. That's it. So.
You can try later, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if you get enough signatures. But if you don't, oh my God.
Right. Well, let's transition. That's a good transition. You famously did not get along with Iya Falcone on the city council. I'm not gonna, who's right or wrong. Everyone go read the articles if they want to, look at it. But sometimes we need a good arch rival to bring the best out of us, because without that, we get a little soft sometimes. So. And I think that we saw the best of Marty, because you always had people breathing down your neck, wanting to compete with you for that seat. What do you remember about those days? I mean, you had Iya, of course, who was, very outspoken and ambitious and very connected. And you had Dr. Dan Secord, Roger Horton, you had a lot of, really, it's kind of a cool, time there. And then you were there when, let's see, was Was Doss did you serve with Doss and Helene? Yeah, Helene too as well, So you served with the
the
future.
last 2 years, maybe 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you remember about those times? Like when you think back?
Yeah. I remember thinking to myself, I think I'm making this job look too nice and too easy because a lot of people seem to want my job. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember when Harriet Miller had the job, she would come in with a clipboard and she would take a little a survey of what each of the council members thinks about whatever the subject was for the next Tuesday. And I remember thinking, I don't think that's legal. I don't think she really could do that. And she really should not have done that. But I didn't think about that till I became mayor. So the kind of job that I was doing was just because I was really loving the job. It just turned out to be a good fit for me.
Yeah.
And, after running for office, and it's not easy in this town running for the office in the whole city, and being worn out, I think, then you go into a whole new job that has nothing to do with running for office. It's just a whole different thing. So and some of the people on that city council were pretty outspoken. Dan Secord was one of them.
Yes.
Except that Dan had, he was an OBGYN and he had delivered my youngest. And we all agree that he's the smartest. So I don't know what happened there. Somehow it worked out. So we did have a relationship that was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so I could go in and talk to him and he was okay. He wasn't doing strange things or anything.
Yeah.
I think Frank Hotchkiss had a little bit of a weird time. But anyway, so, and I didn't, as I walked into my office every day, I thought, none of these people want to be my friend. And that was really true. No one wanted to be my friend. That's not what they were trying. They were trying to get my job. And when you think of that, you just kind of gird yourself up a little bit and go in more ferociously.
Mm-hmm. Babatunde wanted to be your friend. I don't think he wanted your job.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one exception.
I know. Yeah. He was such a sweet guy. Oh, yeah. I really liked him a lot. Yeah. He had a little fountain in his office.
Uh-huh.
And the sound of running water. If you go in there and you're angry at something, you just within a minute, you're all calmed down. Your blood pressure has gone down, everything about it. He was a very nice man. Babatunde Folayemi. I really liked him.
Yeah, gone too soon. How much would I love to be doing a podcast with him, talking about things.
Oh, yeah. Talking about life. Oh, my goodness. And Iya, it was just, Iya and I shared the same values, really. Democratic values, all the, affordable housing, pro-choice, everything we shared. So we should have gotten along better. And I kind of feel bad that I didn't get along with her as well as I wanted to. But as you said, she was an arch rival. You never knew what she was going to say during the week when I wasn't paying attention. And darn it, if she didn't, she actually made me a better mayor. Yeah. So I have to give her that credit. When I say you girded up and said, everybody wants my job, Iya was at the top of that list. She wanted my job badly.
Yeah.
Well,
Iya was high-powered, right? Aggressive, ambitious. She and I had, oh my goodness, so many. Whatever feud I'm having with any elected official today pales in comparison to my battles with Iya back in the day.
Josh, you would then come into my office and you would sit down at the couch and you would say, you know what Iya just told me? And I would hear it and I'd go, no, you're kidding me. You just want me to say something. No, he said, she really did say that. So you were a part of it a little bit. It wasn't your fault. You were just trying to report on us. Poor you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give you your opportunity to respond on the record, Marty, to these allegations. That's very normal. But it is too bad because when you have two really great political minds in the same place at the same time, you are going to clash, and there's only one seat. There's only room for one at the top. And so it is what it is. And, eventually, she ran for other stuff, and, it's all kind of settles, but yeah, it is unfortunate, because when you don't have a strong conservative Republican base in the town, and you've largely run by Democrats tend to figure out a way to start feuding with each other. It's just sort of nature. And Dan Secord, he's a Republican, but he was he was a pro-choice guy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like not your kind of Republican just seen today on Fox News by any means, so I doubt he would have been a Trump supporter if he were around.
Oh, no, he would not. And he actually, one day, I don't remember what it was. Maybe I had a migraine, because I had migraines at that time. And I had to quit the meeting. We took a break, and then he was taking over, because I guess he was mayor pro tem or something like that. And so I went home and laid down. I was really sick. And sure enough, at the end of the meeting, he came to my house and brought me my notebook and told me what happened in the rest of the meeting. He was just so kindly in that way.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he was a little bit strange in some ways too. Some of the things he said. So I had to straighten that out.
Yeah, he shut me out for almost a whole year during all that.
Really?
Some story I wrote. I won't get into it, but then he forgave me. We're great. It's just
Yeah.
That's how he was. Like,
Yeah.
that's your punishment, Josh. No access to me.
You're in purgatory, not talking to me. And Josh goes, "Oh, okay, I can live with that." No, it was interesting times, but you know what? I think it's always interesting times.
Yeah.
At City Hall. It just is, even though, there right now, and I don't think you know this, but in a couple years you will, there are factions at City Hall for mayor, probably in 7 years. And they're kind of vying with each other. And for a while, they were trying to get one former mayor on this side and the other former mayor on this side. And I just didn't do it. I wasn't interested.
Oh.
I'm out of there, guys. See you later. But it's going to be interesting.
Right.
And you say about the conservative Republican thing, John Davies ran Randy Rouse's, I guess it was his whole campaign for him. And John Davies is a pretty conservative, a pretty wily though, a good Republican.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about taxes are too high in Santa Barbara. Well, whoever talks about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that from anybody? I haven't.
Right.
And so things like that. And but so I don't know about Randy yet in that way. John Davies made me a little nervous there. And
John Davies is, you have to respect him if you don't always agree with his candidates or his COVID positions, but you have to respect him. He's someone who knows his stuff, and he's got a lot of smart things to say. But do we really want to agree 100% with everybody? That's boring.
Oh,
right? I mean, that's no fun.
Oh, I'm not sure.
We want to learn. We want to listen to other people's perspectives.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But I would like to leave it open that the door open so we can talk.
Yeah. That's
John does that. He and I can talk to him. But I'm not sure I can talk to Randy yet. So that's going to be interesting. I sent him a little congratulatory little message, my little text messages with an emoji, a happy little emoji, to say, you're going to really love this job. If I can help at any time, just let me know. And he wrote back, "Who is this?" I forgot that I wasn't in his, probably wasn't in his contacts list. So
he was just messing with you. I'm sure he knew.
I don't know. He is a nice guy. And I used to eat at the Paradise Cafe when he was, and he's known as a nice person.
Yeah.
And that's who we need as mayor, but I think he does think he can get more through than he really can. So that's kind of funny.
Speaking of political ambition, what do you think of Meagan Harmon? Do you think she can be a future leader in this town? She's on the Coastal Commission, and she's ambitious.
As was Dan Secord when I was on mayor.
Dan Secord was a
Yeah.
coastal commissioner. Yeah. Have your paths overlapped at all? How do you think? What kind of role do you think she's playing on the council?
Meagan, I think Meagan is a fast learner. I met with her before she was when she was just running for council, and she's just good. She's good at reaching out. I used to get her newsletters once a week, and then she had a second baby and not so much, but and she's on the coastal commission, so she really has her hands full. But I think she's a very sharp woman. Yeah. And if she doesn't want to be mayor, maybe she wants to do something else. State assembly might be for her. She's an attorney.
Right.
I like her a lot.
Yeah.
I like her. She's a straight shooter for sure. If I'm a straight shooter, she even shoots straighter. She's just good. Kristen Sneddon, she's good too.
Yeah.
In her own, she's kind of quiet about things.
Right.
But I like her, and she's okay, and she might want to be mayor. I don't know. So I think we have Alejandra is Gutierrez from the east side is paying good attention to the east side, but she needs to broaden her prospects, her vision if she wants to run for mayor. But I'm not telling anybody to run for mayor right now. I'm just saying.
Well, I agree with you. Kristen is very mayor-like. She has the kind of appeal to a lot of people that would certainly get her enough votes to win. And people like her, they may not agree with her, and certainly some developers probably don't like her, but she's sort of the closest to that Marty Blum type, even like a Harry, and I know you two didn't get along great, but somebody who people can really see as representing everyone in that state,
Right.
And Meagan, I've told Meagan this is like she should be in state government or much higher, because I mean she's got those kind of intellectual chops where she can go toe to toe with anyone, and she understands it really quickly. I mean, it's almost like these staff reports she's reading, she could probably read in 5 minutes and come out with her perspective, because she's really good too. So we have some good talent on the council. Eric Friedman too, he's a little bit more methodical, and he makes his dad jokes all the time. And, he tries to quote, but I mean, he's a really good brain there too. And he's got a bright political future, whatever he wants to do, because he's another one. And I think the trait is genuine, like Kristen's very genuine.
That's true.
Eric is very genuine. And even though Meagan gets labeled with the ambition thing, she's very genuine. Like she really believes in affordable housing. She believes in helping her the millennials and that generation, and she really has that stuff down. Community Information Commission, and that's a real trait that you need in office. Let me ask you a little bit, Marty, about your time now. You had a book called Madam Mayor come out, and you talked about your life story, and after City Hall, you got elected to the Board of Trustees at City College, and that was its own sort of drama, of course. But what's life like for you these days, Marty? What are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah, I've never served in any office more than twice. So I usually do a elect and then re-elect, and that's it. And so that's what I did at City College. So I was out of there in 2018. But I think we settled the place down, and so that worked okay. So what am I doing now? I don't know. I get up, I go to get coffee. It's that kind of thing. I love it. I have never in my whole life been without a job. I mean, I always had one or two, even when the kids were real little. And so it's just a pleasure. I get to read whatever I want to read, and I have a stack of books because I really do love to read. And I'm knitting. I should have brought a picture to show you. My youngest granddaughter turned 3 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And there she was in a sweater that I had knitted. And I went, yes, that feels really good, so that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm doing a lot of quilting. My grandmother quilted and I just kind of picked it up and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm also a little bit busy, not really. I'm not busy at all, but with Grey Panthers has picked up a chapter again. So that Grey Panthers chapter board is something you might want to write about because it's got 3 former supervisors. It's got me and it's got school board member and,
Important group. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, formerly important. And now we're trying to ferment a revolution or something. I don't know what we do, but it's fun. It's fun. Right. And it's also good. And frankly, there are more and more older people here, with the baby boomers. So they need to be stood up for.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And then I'm also in a funny little group called the Fearless Grandmas. and I'm not quite sure about that because I haven't really, I just attended a meeting and I get emails from them. So I haven't really done anything with them yet.
Yeah.
But I like the title. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even want to know what kind of stuff you're up to.
Well, I'm going to find out. And then I was doing things with the local neighborhood association, our Mason neighborhood.
Right.
And that was fun too for a while. I did 3 years there. So, it's good stuff.
You reminded me of, when you talked about sort of your values and your positions. What did you think of Politico publishing this preliminary opinion on the Supreme Court, reversing essentially Roe versus Wade? What was your reaction to that?
Well, I hated it.
Yeah.
I don't think that should have happened at all. I did want to right away blame a Democrat because it's certainly going to help the Democrats in the fall. If the Supreme Court waited to August or September, it wouldn't have as much of an impact as it does now and set everybody up for the summer.
Right.
And I really don't know, but I don't really care. Let's talk about the issue, the national voice there. I don't really want to, I don't care about who let it out, but they shouldn't have. That's all I can say.
Right. Yeah. And do you think there's going to be any way to change this opinion? Because it's out and there's such a public backlash that maybe the final opinion would.
Well, they boxed themselves into a corner, didn't they? Because they put this out. So now every reporter is going to take that opinion and the other one and hold them next to each other and see what's missing and what they added. But some of it, I'm putting on a lawyer hat now, and I'm inactive as a lawyer, so I shouldn't be giving you any advice. So I'm not going to. But the shoddy, it was just a shoddy piece of research, and maybe that's how their opinions come out first, and then they make the circuit and they get better and better.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked, though. It wasn't something that I mean, just the idea that Alito would say Roe v. Wade has to be overturned, period. I mean, that's what he said at first. And that's crazy. No, it doesn't. So, and I thought they would tweak it. I didn't think they were going to think about just overturning it.
Right.
Because, there's going to be a lot of repercussions about that.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of illegal abortions and a lot of women getting sick or killed even. So, that's just, I mean, I thought they would have tweeted Roe v. Wade. I think they would have said something about viability. So the first trimester, yes, and then the second trimester, when the baby's viable. And I don't really know when that is right now. I haven't followed that. And maybe have it turn on that, not turn on 6 months,
Yeah. It's really hard to regulate human behavior. So in other words, you can have
so right. Yes,
you can make something legal or illegal, but it doesn't stop what people want to do or are going to do. And what it does is actually put more women at risk, and who is usually the most vulnerable among us, the low income, because you've got to figure out a way to do what you're going to do anyway. And if it's not legal, then how are you going to do it? Or you got to go to a state where it is. And it isn't, it's such a moral debate that is, you're trying to force it onto people who don't share that perspective. And that never works. Like people are always going to do what they want to do, regardless of whether it's easy or not. They're going to figure out a way. And I think that's the problem is, well, if, people are going to figure out a way, which should probably be the healthiest, safest way, right?
Right.
And you can keep your judgment or your morals, that's fine, whatever. But if these people choose that, that's what they choose, and that's healthy with them.
And don't make them wait till the baby's really too huge to do anything about. That's not okay either.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to live in California, though we're going to be hopefully taking on some of these people that need abortions. But we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, I think the whole idea, well, we'll look back and see what we think in 10 years, but the whole idea of letting that very poor decision brief out is just, it's not good. Yeah, because look what's happened. Oh.
So Marty, are you done with elected office? Is there some spot somewhere that you could maybe do one more time? I mean, you'd be better than some of these other people who are wanting to seek higher office just because they think they can, Are you done or,
Well, the interesting part when I look back is that every time I've run for office, the next time I run for office, I get more votes than I got the first time, and more votes the third than the second. And all along, even City College, but there are more voters than there are in the city. But I always get more votes. So you're going to have to find an office that's bigger than City College.
Yes.
For me to keep that going. But I don't know what it would be, chairman of the world or something. I don't know.
This is too late to take on Greg in the assembly. So.
Oh, no. I really like Greg is a great guy. And he and I got there on the city council together first. That's both of us. And we had a great time. And he just is such a smart guy and so good. And he's waited for this a long time. He needs to be in Sacramento. And then Laura Capps too. Don't forget her. And there she's going to be.
How could I forget Laura Capps?
I know you can't. Nobody does. I know she's wonderful. Just an amazing woman. So we're going to have her as supervisor. That's amazing, but not until November. We have to remember that even if we elect her now, which we will, because she doesn't have any opposition, she's got until November to vacate her school board seat.
Right.
So
you're a former teacher, former president of the Teacher Association.
Oh my goodness! I don't want to be on the school board. That's
you don't want to listen to all the public commenters come in and yell at you and attack you. No,
I don't mind if they want to ban a book. I'll just tell them no. I don't even care what the title is. No, I think we have a city that has a history of being mean to the school superintendent. Honestly, I moved here in 1968, the first time. I couldn't believe the kinds of things that were written about the school superintendent, who was a man at the time, and I've forgotten his name. But no, it's just, we just pick him to death. It's horrible. So that's what's happening with Hilda Maldonado. But on the other hand, maybe there is a problem. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, being a superintendent, I don't, what is the career span of that? It's not very long because
amazing.
You're dealing with your children, and that children bring out the best and worst in parents, and you can stop being logical when you're thinking about your kids. You're irrational sometimes, and you need somebody to take it out on. And that's why it's so hard to be a superintendent. And, with Hilda Maldonado, I think that the issues are a little different in that it's internally, the people who are not wanting to work there anymore. And that's a little different than the parents who are just going to scapegoat the superintendent for whatever is happening, on the ground. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a very, very difficult job. So
yeah, it is. It is.
So
I don't know if people don't want to work there or think that she's doing a great job. And so now's a good time for me to go to the Bay Area, which I've wanted to do all my life, type of thing,
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's two sides of the coin. Yeah. It's like, well, you wanted somebody to clean house. Well, we clean house. Now you're upset about it, sort of. And
That's
and
right.
Marty, before we go, how is Joe Bloom doing?
Oh,
He's
Joe
always
is
such
good.
a good guy, and your biggest supporter, and he just did so
And
much good work, medical work, a doctor.
oh,
How's he doing?
yeah, yeah, he's doing fine. He was my lawn sign guy. And so every once in a while, when there's some lawn signs start popping up for an election, he'll take me around and show me why this one isn't good or what's happening there, because you can't get that out of him. But but he's doing fine. He's playing a bass, electric bass, and he just learned in the last couple of years. And so that's kind of an amazing thing to pick up and say, I think I want to play this. But he always says that our youngest was a bass player, which he was, and a good one. So I must have some genes, he says. And so he tried it out. He says, well, the truth is, I don't have any genes about being a good bass player, but also I like playing bass. So he plays bass. He plays with a couple groups. And, that's a fun thing for him. And he also, he always played volleyball at East Beach with the Nooners.
Oh, yeah.
He goes down twice a week, and he doesn't play volleyball, but there are a lot of them out there just talking mostly. But they do some drills and stuff like that. So he's down there at the volleyball courts twice a week. So he's keeping very busy. And we have a COVID puppy who is now a COVID teenager.
Oh, great.
Yes, no, that's not easy.
Not great.
But otherwise, no, he won't get in the car, and we want to take him somewhere. So,
What kind of dog is he?
he's a golden retriever, but he's a white, cream, English cream, and he's beautiful, and he's got beautiful eyes. His name is Hank, and Hank just gives us a time sometimes, but that's okay. It keeps us going. So yeah, in general, we're doing fine.
We just watched Marmaduke on Netflix, and they send him to obedience school.
Oh,
maybe you should send to obedience school.
Well, you think we paid a trainer to come over here, and now he'll get 2 feet into the car. Well, maybe we could tie him to the car and drag him along, but I don't know. It's just like, anyway. I have to see. And is that's got to be a cartoon?
Yeah, it's
a full length one.
It's a 90-minute full-length movie on Netflix. It's animated, but it's great.
You have a daughter. You get to sit and watch Marmaduke.
Oh yeah, and those animated movies are good. They're not like just kids movies. There's usually themes on multiple levels. So.
I never could figure out why my mother always wanted to go to the movies with me until I started saying, "Hey, these are pretty good movies."
Yes.
They're fun. Cinderella. All the little singing mice and everything. Oh my goodness, how wonderful.
Have you seen Encanto?
Yeah, and the music.
The music's great, yes.
Yeah, you pay big bucks on Broadway to get music like that, right?
Exactly.
It's just, So that's the other thing we do is we watch a lot of movies on television. And we watched one yesterday called The Enigma, is it? No. No, it's something else, but it was really riveting. It was about World War II, and I don't usually like spy films, but that's what this was, and it was amazing. It was a true story too. Yes. So you can get gazillions of movies on Netflix or whatever.
Right, Amazon Prime is
Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Someday I look forward to. I always tell people like someday I can't wait for just a day just to watch movies, because never get to watch anything unless it's got an animated dog in it.
Well, I'm writing that down. Marmaduke. Okay.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. All right, Marty, we're about time, and I want to wrap up. So I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation, and it's been really just fulfilling to be able to relive some of these old days when I was starting out and you were in your prime as mayor, and talk to somebody who knows so much and who's lived these experiences. You should, the city should have like an ombudsman role or some role for you.
No. No, it's okay. I'm doing fine. I don't need a job for sure. I'm doing just fine. But this has been a pleasure for me too, Josh. We go so far back. I knew it would be easy to talk to you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we didn't even get into the picture with the baseball bat. We'll have to do that in the next podcast.
I remember when they took that. That was fun. And some of the police officers were very intimidated by that.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Have a
Good
good
luck.
one.
Bye.
See you later.